Professor David Schultz. He's a professor of political science at Hamlin University. We always bring him here to shed some light on some of the issue that mainstream media really don't cover these things, don't give it enough time, and it's sound bites and people talking to the echo chamber. We don't learn anything from all these debates. So we all hear about Whoopi Goldberg, host of The View.
The View. Yep. I think it's a women's talk show, I believe.
Is there a such thing?
Yes.
A women talk show. Now we have a men talk show. We have a gay talk show. And is there a human talk show somewhere?
But I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't think you can talk unless you have an edge.
Okay. Only in America. I mean, I remember a few years back when a white billionaire invited America to talk about race. The CEO of Starbucks, which he shared your last name. Is there any connection there?
I wish there were. Then I would try to make a claim on the money, but there's no connection.
You only have one coffee shop. That's it.
That's right. Exactly.
He has about 10,000.
At least.
Maybe you should check that and see there is, with Century, maybe there is a connection there. Well, CEO Schultz invited America to talk about race, but nobody really was interested. And nobody really got excited about talking about race. America have problem talking about race. And but when a black woman, a billionaire, invited people to address the Holocaust and race, everybody's talking about it now. So what went wrong, or how wrong was Ms. Goldberg about her claim that the Holocaust was just, it wasn't about race, but it was just white people killing each other? Forming race is something very complicated, and it can be forced on you, like what's happening now to the Muslims. They are forced to be a race.
Yes.
Muslims now become racialized and degrading like a second-class race in America. So why her comments, which is on The View, for God's sake, she can have a view on The View. And she was fired, and everybody up to arms. And so why her comments hit a chord?
Two reasons. First, because, as you pointed out, it was a black woman commenting on race. And I don't think America likes to hear the perspective, oftentimes, of let's say, people of color, especially a woman, talking about race. They want to hear it from what? From the perspective of a comfortable white Caucasian American approach. And then second, I think, is that she really is sort of, in her comments there, and talking about saying that it was really sort of a general crime against humanity. On one level, if you look at international law, how does international law treat something like what the Germans did to the Jews? They call it what? They called it a crime against humanity. Now, we can have things such as phrases like ethnic cleansing and so forth, but from a technical point of view, from international law point of view, she sort of called it correct, but there's so much, let us say, personality and ownership in terms of how people try to describe the Holocaust, try to describe what the Nazis did, that she stepped into a middle of, I say, a large battle. And you hit at it here a little bit. In the United States, we don't think of people who are Jewish as an ethnicity. Go to Russia, go to Europe, it's thought of as ethnicity. So she really sort of stepped into a middle of a controversy, and as a black woman, probably isn't privileged in our society to raise those kind of questions.
Well, she might not be a Holocaust expert, but she is a descender of slaves and people who were been enslaved,
right,
for the color of their skin, but they were not even human.
Yes,
I mean, they were considered properties. Mm-hmm. So she in a way, earn it to talk about race.
Yeah. I would say she should be entitled to talk about race, and she should be, again, entitled to offer her perspective. And again, being somebody who's descendant of a group of people who were enslaved, it offers a different perspective. But she challenges it. She was challenging a narrative about how to think about the Holocaust. And we're at a point now, I think, an interesting point in history, that we're probably at a point right now where maybe there's still just a few remaining survivors of the Holocaust. I mean, we're getting to the point within a few years, it'll be all post experiential. I mean, it'll be all history book. It'll be not people who lived through it. And at that point, what the Holocaust means becomes totally wide open for historians to figure out, for the world to figure out. So she, at a time when we're going through this, thinking about what does it mean, at a time when, let's be honest, in this country, white supremacy is rearing its head. Internationally, nationalism is kicking in. She's talking about the issue of race, racism, ethnic cleansing, whatever term you want to use here, and forcing us to think about it in ways, or raise questions about it in ways that make people feel uncomfortable. And I come back to it again. A Black woman raising these questions makes people far more uncomfortable than a white billionaire raising these questions.
A Polish sociologist, probably you know him, Zygmunt Bauman, wrote a wonderful book called Modernity and the Holocaust.
Mm-hmm.
And his premises was modernity, which is technology, rationale, expansion, capitalism, imperialism, made the Holocaust imaginable for Hitler. It would not happen on that grand without modernity, without the technology, without the machinery, without the bureaucrats, who actually participated and executed the Holocaust with such efficiency that before modernity would be like a minor things, and might not be in a massive killing.
Yeah, I mean, there was a story I remember once heard somebody said, you'll see where I'm going here, that talked about when Gutenberg invented the printing press. The comment was, it made the mass production of books possible, but then someone said that it also made possible the mass burning of books. And I always liked that phrase there, because what capitalism did, what modernity did, was to make possible mass production, cars, whatever else. But in the same way that technology can be used for what we think is arguably good purposes, technology can also be used for sinister purposes. And what was ingenious, tragic, whatever, about the final solution with Hitler was the fact that he was able to do this with such efficiency by bringing the tools of modern business, capitalism, mass production together. I mean, think about people like Eichmann. I mean, Eichmann's job when he was put on trial in Jerusalem, back in 1961, Adolf Eichmann, he was the person who coordinated the logistics for the trains to bring the Jews to the gas chambers. I mean, his ability was to coordinate enough trains to get 6 million people to the gas chambers in time. That takes an incredible amount of efficiency. That's what capitalism brought forth, technology brought forth. Now, obviously, what I'm saying is, I'm not saying this is good, but this is what capitalism and modernity made possible.
And when Hitler killed almost 20 million people because of their ethnicity, or because they were inferior race or inferior group. So it wasn't just the Jew. And he was not interested in a Jew in Africa or the Middle East. It was a European problem.
Right.
And it was a capitalist, imperialist problem to transfer the Jew from Europe. But Hitler did not have a colonist. Balfour did. That's why he transferred the Jew to Palestine. Mm-hmm. He had the luxury to have a colonist in Balfour or in England, but Hitler did not. So the final solution was tragic.
Is that I will argue that colonialism and racism are almost always associated together. You know, the colonization of North America, of South America, you know, it's colonization, it's empire building, but it's also racial at the same time. Obviously the quest for colonies in Africa in the late 19th, early 20th century. But you're right, what Hitler wanted to do was to create essentially what? An Aryan white Europe. And his idea was what? I'm not going to sort of like let Jews be part of, let's say, the Iberian Peninsula or someplace like that. His idea was what? Instead of exporting them, exterminate them. That's why it's called what? The final solution. You know, he wasn't in the position of saying, I care about, let's say, the African colonies or something like that. This was an Aryan pan-European movement to ethnically cleanse all of Europe. If capitalism is about the commodification of all human relations, which also means what? The depersonalization. That's what capitalism, that's what Hitler did. I mean, think about it. I mean, I'm going to use the Marxist argument here. What Marx argued, I think accurately here, is that what capitalism does is destroys essential human relationships, reduces workers to commodities, and exploits them. And in some sense, that's what Hitler did too. I mean, keep in mind that for a lot of the people he exterminated, before he exterminated them, a lot of them, he did what? He also basically enslaved them. I mean, let's not forget, what was the phrase at the entrance to Auschwitz? Arbeit macht frei, work makes freedom. It's this notion of what? Extracting work product, and then eventually reducing people to commodification or to a thing. And he did it. He did it. His was the total exploitation, the total reduction of humanity to nothing by killing him. This because think about a classic phrase that people use in business: nothing personal, it's just business. And there's that, and you know that what I mean by there is that supposedly business is supposed to be what? You bracket aside your feelings, you bracket aside everything, and just do your job. To be what? What is it? The
Professionalism.
Professionalism. I was trying to think of that line. It's the idea of what? Being the major modern general. Ours is just a reason why. Ours is not to do or die. But it's basically just to be neutral. And the thing is, that's what the Germans were expecting. Because what? Emotion with the Holocaust, the German Holocaust against the Jews, to be emotional would upset the efficiency. It would upset the business. Again, Hannah Arendt's book, Eichmann in Jerusalem, is a brilliant book where when Eichmann is testifying about what he did, what upset Arendt so much was how antiseptic he was. He just said, I was just doing my job.
Following orders.
I got up in the morning. I had breakfast with my wife, talked to my kids, went off, coordinated logistics, came home, talked about my day and everything. Except somewhere along the line, he forgot what his job was killing people. But to him, he was just a logician. He was just in transport logistics. Right. I was going to say, I can't remember. Did you used to teach marketing?
Yeah.
Remember FUD? Fear, uncertainty, and dread. The ways that you sell people, appeal to people's insecurities. I'm afraid I'm not pretty enough. Uncertainty. Is she going to go out with me? Do I have the right clothes? What I'm getting at here is that what capitalism appeals to is our sense of insecurity, our fears, our angers, our passions, and exploits them. In the same way, I think what you were arguing here is that in many ways, what the Holocaust was about was exploiting people's fear. And tie it to the present. When Donald Trump was president, he was doing the same thing, looking at people who had lost their jobs, who are not winning economically. And the answer was simple. The reason why you're losing, it was those immigrants, those Arabs, those Muslims, those immigrants. That line is not that far from saying those Jews. And the point being is that there is also a sense where we're kind of moving here, is that it was Now take the modern techniques of capitalism and combine those with sinister political motives, and it gives us the recipe for the Holocaust. It gives us the recipe for what? Ethnic cleansing around the world that continues to go on to this day.
It's interesting. I wanted to end it off. I know it's been a long day for you. As a marketing person, we that's capitalism on the sense of our insecurity and widening the gap between reality and ideal reality. Now, people, when they get depressed, they head to the mall, buy things, brand promise them to be very beloved by the opposite sex, buy things they don't really need with money they don't have, and probably give it to people they don't like. But the cycle is going.
That's right. Since the pandemic started in the United States, and I think across Europe too, the global savings rate has gone up. People are just saving more money because they're not out buying things, which I normally think would be a good idea, save a little bit more like that. But all the economists are lamenting the fact, saying people are saving too much and not spending enough. They're not going into debt enough. And it's like our whole system is perverse in the sense that it's got to be convincing people to go out and buy crap that you don't need, and borrow money to do it in the process. For all of us who have credit ratings, we don't get good credit ratings by buying something and paying cash. We get good credits by what? By
debts.
That's right. There's a perversity to this.
Well, that's the idea of this Western rationale. It's built, the rationality that's based on actually.
Is that our fine Supreme Court is going to say in the next few months that women no longer have a right to control the use of their bodies, by basically overturning Roe versus Wade, but they seem sympathetic in telling people they can't be told to get vaccines. I guess my body, my choice is not good with abortion. My body, my choice is okay with a bunch of infected people.
I have a golf pro give me some lessons, and I always ask him, before you give me lessons, I want to make sure you got vaccinated. We're gonna get closer. We'll talk. He said, "No, I don't." I said, "I'm not gonna get vaccinated." I said, "Why?" So I don't trust Pfizer. I said, "Do you use Viagra?" He said, "Yes." I said, "The same company."
I get there's a joke here, but I'm not going to say it. I'll let it go.
I don't know. I have no idea what's going on. I'm gonna just end this, and thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of the day, and we'll talk to you later. This is not gonna end.
Good. Talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.